Diyos ug makagagahom nga Amahan, salamat sa mga grasya nga among nadawat, labi na sa gasa sa kinabuhi. Hinaot unta nga kami hatagan sa gasa sa pagsabot ug mahayagan ang among hunahuna ug among gilauman, ikaw magahatag kanamo sa proteksyon. Sa mga magtutudlo, magapadayon ang ilang kinasing-kasing nga pag-alagad. Una kami sa kalipay, aron mulambo ang tinuod na gugma ug kaluoy sa matag adlaw. Ining tanan among gilauman, sa ngalan ni Jesus, Amen. Bayang magiliw, perlas sa silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw. May dilagang tula at awit sa paglay minamahal, ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niyang kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw nang luwalhatig pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Amay ligaya ng pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
The Department of Education, Division of TANGKUB City, in partnership with the local government unit of TANGKUB, presents ang TANGKUB, transforming advancement in the new normal, guiding K-12 learners under broadcast media, a TV-based instructional program crafted in response to the need of making education possible and accessible to students at the comfort of their homes. It covers the most essential competencies thematically layered in drama plays, which were originally written, directed, and performed by teachers to see to it that education is securely provided. This is ang TANGKUB.
It's TANGKUB, TANGKUB, TANGKUB time. We learn all things, it's very fun, masaya. Tugtog na.
Kumusta mga bata? Sa dili pa nato sugdan ang atong pagtulunan karong adlaw, ato sang balikan ang mga letrang na ato nang nakatunan. Atong nakatunan ang letrang A nga adunay tingog nga A. Letrang K nga adunay tingog nga K. Letrang O nga adunay tingog nga O. Letrang S nga adunay tingog nga S. og letrang I nga adunay tingog nga I. Karon mga bata, tan-awa ang mga pulong nga makita sa inyong screen ug paminawa ko kung unsaon ako kini pagbasa. Ako si. Usba ninyo mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, paminawa usab ko ninyo kung unsaon pagbasa ang mga pulong nga makita sa inyong screen. Ako si Mama. Usba ninyo mga bata. Maayo! Karon mga bata, paminawa na pud ko ninyo kung unsaon pagbasa ang mga pulong nga makita sa inyong screen. Ako si Papa. Usba ninyo mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, paminawa na pud ko ninyo kung unsaon pagbasa ang mga pulong nga makita sa inyong screen. Ako si Ate. Otruhan ninyo mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, ato nang sugdan ang atong pagtulunan karong adlaw. Kini mahitungod sa letrang U. Andama og paklia ang inyong self-learning materials, page 18. Diha inyong makita ang letrang U. Karon mga bata, tan-awa ang akong baba ug paminawa ko kung unsaon ang saktong paglitok sa letrang U. U. Akong usbon mga bata. U. Karon mga bata, tudlua ang unang linya ug magdungan kita sa paglitok sa dakong letrang U. U. Atong usbon mga bata. U. Atong usbon mga bata. U. Balikon ta mga bata. U. Karon mga bata, tudlua ang ikaduhang linya ug ilitok ang dakong letrang U. Usba ninyo paglitok mga bata. Balika pa mga bata. Usba pa sa makausa mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, tudlua ang ikatulong linya ug magdungan kita sa paglitok sa gamay nga letrang U. U. Atong usbon mga bata. U. Balikon ta mga bata. U. Atong usbon sa makausa mga bata. U. Karon mga bata, tudlua ang ikaupat nga linya ug ilitok ang gamay nga letrang U. Usba ninyo mga bata. Balik ka pa, mga bata. Usba pa paglitok, mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, lantawa ang posisyon sa baba sa hulagway nga inyong makita tapad sa letrang U. Paminawa og sunduga ko kung unsaon ang sakong paglitok sa tingog sa letrang U. U. Paminawa ninyo og usab mga bata. U. Karon mga bata, tudloa ang unang linya ug magdungan kita sa paglitok sa tingog sa dakong letrang U. U. Atong usbon mga bata. U. Balikon ta mga bata. U. Usbon ta sa makausa mga bata. U. Karon mga bata, tudloa pagbalik ang unang linya ug ilitok ang tingog sa dakong letrang U. Usba paglitok mga bata. Balik ka pa mga bata. Usba pa sa makausa mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, tudloa ang ikaduhang linya ug ilitok ang tingog sa dakong letrang U. Usba ninyo mga bata. Balik ka pa mga bata. Usba pa paglitok mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, tudloa ang ikatulong linya ug magdungan kita sa paglitok sa tingog sa gamay nga letrang U. U. Atong usbon mga bata. U. Balikon ta mga bata. U. Usbon ta sa makausa mga bata. U. Karon mga bata, otruha pagtudlo ang ikaduhang linya ug ilitok ang tingog sa gamay nga letrang U. Usba ninyo mga bata. Balik ka pa mga bata. Usba pa sa makausa mga bata. Maayo! Karon mga bata, tudloa ang ikaupat nga linya ug ilitok ang tingog sa gamay nga letrang U. Usba ninyo mga bata. Balik ka pa mga bata. Usba pa sa makausa mga bata. Sakto! Karon mga bata, paklia ang page 18 sa inyong activity sheets ug sunda ang putol-putol nga linya aron makasulat kamo sa letrang U. Karon mga bata, samtang nagsulat kamo sa inyong activity sheets, paminawa ang kanta sa letrang U.
Magbasa na kita sa dakong letrang U. Basahon ta siya. U, U, U. Magbasa na kita sa gamayng letrang U. Basahon ta siya. Sama sa umaapaw, tanon, upat, ug unom. Yung sama sa urbanidad, unlan, ulap, ug ulan. Magbasa na kita sa dakong letrang U. Basahon ta siya. U, U, U. Basahon ta siya. U, U, U.
Karon mga bata, samtang nagsulat kamo sa inyong activity sheets, paminawa ko kung unsaon pagbasa ang ngalan sa hulagway nga makita ubos sa inyong self-learning materials. Ang unang hulagway mao ang ulan. U. Ulan. Ang ikaduhang hulagway mao ang unlan. U. Unlan. Ang ikatulo nga hulagway nagpakita sa ulo. U. Ulo. Hantod sa sunod nga higayon mga bata. Daghang salamat. Enjoy!
Dali na mag-science na kita, mag-observe o mag-discover ta, living things o non-living things, mga stars o mga planeta. Dali na mag-science na kita, mag-observe o mag-discover ta, living things o non-living things, mga stars o mga planeta, mga stars o mga planeta, mga stars o mga planeta.
Magandang umaga mga bata! Kumusta kayo sa araw na ito? Handa na ba kayo sa ating panibagong leksyon? Ako si Teacher Popoy. Sa araw na ito, ating sisimulan ang ating panibagong leksyon sa Filipino. Mga bata, basahin na natin ang mga pangalan ng mga larawan na nagsisimula sa titik I. Ang titik I ay may tunog na I. Ngayon, kilalanin at babasahin natin ang mga pangalan na nasa larawan. Basahin na natin ang pangalan ng isa, ibon, ilong, isda, ipis, ilaw, ilog, itlog. Ngayon, basahin na ninyo ang mga salita na makikita sa screen. Simulan na ninyo mga bata. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na isa, tama mga bata. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na ibon, magaling mga bata. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na ilong, tama mga bata. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na isda, magaling mga bata. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na ipis, tama mga bata. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na ilaw, magaling mga bata. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na ilog, magaling. Kung ang salita ay binasa ninyo na itlog, magaling mga bata. Ngayon, basahin naman natin ang mga parirala na may mga salitang nagsisimula sa titik I na may tunog na I. Basahin natin ang mga parirala na inyong makikita sa screen. Halimbawa mga bata, ang isa. Simulan na ninyo mga bata. Kung ang parirala ay binasa ninyo na ang ilong, tama mga bata. Kung ang parirala ay binasa ninyo na ang ipis, magaling mga bata. Kung ang parirala ay binasa ninyo na ang ilog, tama mga bata. Kung ang parirala ay binasa ninyo na ang ibon, magaling mga bata. Kung ang parirala ay binasa ninyo na ang isda, tama mga bata. Kung ang parirala ay binasa ninyo na ang ilaw, magaling mga bata! Kung ang parirala ay binasa ninyo na ang itlog, tama mga bata! Ngayon mga bata, basahin na natin ang mga parirala na inyong makikita sa screen. Simulan na ninyo mga bata! Ngayon, babasahin ko ulit isa-isa ang mga parirala at alamin ninyo kung tama ba ang inyong pagbasa sa mga parirala. Ang isa at ang ipis. Ang itlog at ang isda. Ang ilong at ang itlog. Ang ilaw at ang ibon. Ngayon mga bata, basahin natin ang mga pangungusap na inyong makikita sa screen. Simulan na ninyo mga bata. Kung ang pangungusap ay binasa ninyo na may isang ipis sa bag, tama! Kung ang pangungusap ay binasa ninyo na ang ilog ay may isda, magaling! Kung ang pangungusap ay binasa ninyo na ang ibon ay lumilipad, tama! Kung ang pangungusap ay binasa ninyo na may ilaw sa aming bahay, magaling! Kung ang pangungusap ay binasa ninyo na nagluluto si nanay ng itlog, tama! Mga bata, basahin na natin ang isang tula na inyong makikita sa screen na pinamagatang Ina. Simulan na ninyo mga bata! Ngayon, Babasahin ko ang tula at alamin ninyo kung tama ba ang inyong pagbasa sa tula. Ina. O mahal kong ina, tinuturing kitang modelo sa pamilya. Puno ng pagmamahal at pag-alala. Sa mga anak ay buong puso mong ipinadama ang mga itinuro mong mabuting gawain at asal na hanggang ngayon ay naitala sa aming alaala. Kung ang tula ay binasa ninyo katulad ng aking pagbasa, magaling! Para sa inyong unang gawain, mga bata, tingnan ang ibabang bahagi ng tula na inyong binasa at sagutin ang mga tanong na inyong makikita. Para sa inyong ikalawang gawain, mga bata, buksan ang ika-71 na pahina ng inyong Module I. At para naman sa inyong takdang aralin, mga bata, gayahin at isulat ang titik I sa kursibong pagsulat nito. Hanggang sa muli mga bata, sana'y may natutunan kayo sa araw na ito. Enjoy!
Upat, lima, unom, ang mati ay
Welcome na pod sa atong klase sa kindergarten, dinhi sa tulungaan sa telebisyon. Mga bata, aduna na usab kitay bag-o nga leksyon karong adlaw. Andam na ba mo mga bata? Ali na, magkat-on na ta. Karong buntaga, magkat-on kita sa usa ka pagbati o emotion, mao ang kasuko. Mga bata, tan-awa ko ninyo. Mga bata, ang akong gipakita ninyo mao ang usa ka panagway nga gibati og kasuko. Mga bata, nasuko ko kag gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon. Ang akong gibati mga bata, atong gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon kay nasuko. Usbon ko mga bata, ang akong gibati atong gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon kay nasuko. Usbon ko sa makausa mga bata, ang akong gibati atong gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon kay nasuko. Mga bata, nasuko ko kay gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro. Ang akong gibati mga bata, atong gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro kay nasuko. Usbon ko mga bata, ang akong gibati, atong gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro kay nasuko. Usbon ko sa makausa mga bata, ang akong gibati, atong gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro kay nasuko. Mga bata, tan-awan ninyo ang akong nawong. Mauni ang akong dagway atong nasuko ko sa akong anak mga bata. Nagigisi niya ang akong libro. Mga bata, kikupa na pud sa akong anak ang akong cellphone. Ang akong gibati mga bata kay nasuko. Usbon ko mga bata, nasuko ko kay gikupa sa akong anak ang akong cellphone. Ang akong gibati mga bata kay nasuko. Usbon ko sa makausa mga bata, ang akong gibati atong gigupa sa akong anak ang akong cellphone kay nasuko. Okay, karon mga bata, mananaw taog sa salida. Akong tanaw maayo kung unsa ang makita sa salida nga atong gitanaw. Nasabtan mga bata?
Yes, teacher!
Okay, very good.
How can that be?
I'm here, Mother. I'm home.
Simba, I'm so happy to see you. Alive.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't rip you apart.
I can give you more than one. You see, they think I'm king.
Well, we don't. Your reign is over, Scar. Simba is the rightful king. If you want to get him, you have to get through us. Are you with me, lions?
The choice is yours, Scar. Step down or fight.
Must this all end in violence? I'd hate to be responsible for the death of a family member. To feel the shame of knowing I took the life of someone I love.
I put all that behind me.
Karong mga bata, apin ninyo ang akong gibati sa akong gitanaw nga salida kanila. Dakot kay ko. Ang akong gibati kasuko. Nasuko ko sa akong gitanaw. Ikaw, CJ, unsa imong gibati sa imong gitanaw kanina?
Suko ko.
Suko kay ka? Ikaw ay Dan.
Nasuko ay ko sa salita.
Ikaw Ro. Nasuko ka wala?
Suko.
No? Makalakot ka ayaw atong gitanaw no? Bation tao kasuko. Nasabtan mga bata?
Yes, teacher!
Ana ang maglakot, bation o kasuko. Karon mga bata, ipakita sa inyong mama o papa ang usa ka panagway nga nasuko. Andam na ba mo mga bata? Sige, sulay na mga bata! Napakita na ba ninyo kini sa inyong mama o papa? Kung inyo na ang naipakita, maayo! Karon, buhatan na pud kini ngadto sa imong ate, kuya, lolo o lula. Nabuhat na ba ninyo mga bata? Kung inyo nang nabuhat, very good! Mga bata, ang atong nakatunay karon mo ang pagbati nga nasuko. Para sa unang buluhaton, isulat ang check sa kahon sa hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati nga kasuko. O ikis kung wala. Akong usbon mga bata, isulat ang check sa kahon sa hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati nga kasuko. O ikis kung wala. Akong usbon sa makausa mga bata, isulat ang check sa kahon sa hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati nga kasuko. O ikis kung wala. Alang sa duga nga buluhaton, kolori ang mga hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati o emosyon nga nasuko. Akong usbon mga bata, kolori ang mga hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati o emosyon nga nasuko. Akong usbon sa makausa mga bata, kolori ang mga hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati o emosyon nga nasuko. Og dinhi natapos ang atong leksyon karong adlaw. Hangtod sa sunod higayon, daghang salamat mga bata. Bye-bye.
This is the way we speak. This is
dinhi sa tulungaan sa telebisyon. Mga bata, aduna na usab kitay bag-o nga leksyon karong adlaw. Andam na ba mo mga bata? Ali na, magkat-on na ta. Karong buntaga, magkat-on kita sa usa ka pagbati o emotion, mao ang kasuko. Mga bata, tan-awa ko ninyo. Mga bata, ang akong gipakita ninyo mao ang usa ka panagway nga gibati og kasuko. Mga bata, nasuko ko kay gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon. Ang akong gibati mga bata, atong gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon kay nasuko. Usbon ko mga bata, ang akong gibati atong gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon kay nasuko. Usbon ko sa makausa mga bata, ang akong gibati atong gitangag sa iro ang akong pagkaon kay nasuko. Mga bata, nasuko ko kay gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro. Ang akong gibati mga bata, atong gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro kay nasuko. Usbon ko mga bata, ang akong gibati, atong gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro kay nasuko. Usbon ko sa makausa mga bata, ang akong gibati, atong gigisi sa akong anak ang akong libro kay nasuko. Mga bata, tan-awan ninyo ang akong nawong. Mauni ang akong dagway atong nasuko ko sa akong anak mga bata. Nagigisi niya ang akong libro. Mga bata, kikugpa na pud sa akong anak ang akong cellphone. Ang akong gibati mga bata kay nasuko. Usbon ko mga bata, nasuko ko kay giguba sa akong anak ang akong cellphone. Ang akong gibati mga bata kay nasuko. Usbon ko sa makausa mga bata, ang akong gibati atong giguba sa akong anak ang akong cellphone kay nasuko. Okay, karon mga bata, mananaw taon sa salida. Akong tanaw maayo kung unsa ni makita sa salida nga atong gitanaw. Nasabtan mga bata?
Yes, teacher!
Okay, very good.
How can that be?
I'm here, Mother. I'm home.
Simba, I'm so happy to see you. Alive.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't rip you apart.
I can give you more than one. You see, they think I'm king.
Well, we don't. Your reign is over, Scar. Simba is the rightful king. If you want to get him, you have to get through us. Are you with me, lions?
The choice is yours, Scar. Step down or fight.
Must this all end in violence? I'd hate to be responsible for the death of a family member. To feel the shame of knowing I took the life of someone I love.
I put all that behind me.
Karong mga bata, apin ninyo ang akong gibati sa akong gitanaw sa salida kanila. Lakot kay ko. Ang akong gibati kasuko. Nasuko ko sa akong gitanaw. Ikaw, CJ, unsay imong gibati sa imong gitanaw nila?
Suko ko.
Suko kay ka? Ikaw, Aidan,
Nasuko kay ko sa salida.
Ikaw, Ro. Nasuko ka wala? No, makalakot kaayo atong gitanaw, no? Bation tao, kasuko. Nasabtan mga bata?
Yes, teacher!
Ana ang maglakot, bation o kasuko. Karon mga bata, ipakita sa inyong mama o papa ang usa ka panagway nga nasuko. Andam na ba mo mga bata? Sige, sulay na mga bata! Napakita na ba ninyo kini sa inyong mama o papa? Kung inyo nang naipakita, maayo! Karon, buhatan na pud kini ngadto sa imong ate, kuya, lolo o lula. Nabuhat na ba ninyo mga bata? Kung inyo nang nabuhat, very good! Mga bata, ang atong nakatunay karon mo ang pagbati nga nasuko. Para sa unang buluhaton, isulat ang check sa kahon sa hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati nga kasuko o ikis kung wala. Akong usbon mga bata, isulat ang check sa kahon sa hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati nga kasuko o ikis kung wala. Akong usbon sa makausa mga bata, isulat ang check sa kahon sa hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati nga kasuko o ikis kung wala. Alang sa dugang nga buluhaton, kolori ang mga hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati o emosyon nga nasuko. Akong usbon mga bata, kolori ang mga hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati o emosyon nga nasuko. Akong usbon sa makausa mga bata, kolori ang mga hulagway nga nagpakita og pagbati o emosyon nga nasuko. Og dinhi natapos ang atong leksyon karong adlaw. Hangtod sa sunod higayon, daghang salamat mga bata. Bye-bye.
Alamin ang teknolohiya sa agrikultura at pangkabuhayan upang umunlad ang ating bayan sagana sa likas na yaman. Halika na magpipipina, ipipina, ipipina, halika na, mag-aral na. Alamin ang teknolohiya sa agrikultura at pangkabuhayan upang umunlad ang ating bayan sagana sa likas na yaman. Halika na mag-ipipina, ipipina, ipipina, halika na, mag-aral na. Ipipina, 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 ipipina.
Tanggub City, simply home. Tanggub This is our place, TANGKUB City. There is so much you can see. A paradise from nature's best. It's a beauty among the rest. Rich in culture and history, it has a colorful festivity. One people in harmony, one people in great revelry. TANGKUB City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A bright future of our city is at hand. TANGKUB City, simply home. 25 years of cultural fame, endless beauty in silver years. Magical symbols every Christmas, people dance in all festivals. Golden years of prosperity, we are proud of this great city. One people, one destiny. TANGKUB City is a place to be. TANGKUB City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is at hand. Yearning for progress and development, people remain focused to their commitment. Preserving the tradition of good values into TANGKUB City, simply call our home. TANGKUB City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is at hand. Brighter future, TANGKUB City, simply home. TANGKUB City, simply home. TANGKUB City.
Kahit maraming problema, chill ka lang, don't stop sa pag-eskwela. Kabataan, pag-asa ng ating bayan. Ikaw, ako, tayong lahat ay magtutulungan. Ihanda na ang pisara, upuan at mga mesa. Ang pag-aaral ay simulan na. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ang mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa. Maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw na sabay-sabay. Isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay.
Kahit maraming problema, chill ka lang, don't stop sa pag-eskwela. Kabataan, pag-asa ng ating bayan. Ikaw, ako, tayong lahat ay magtutulungan. Ihanda na ang pisara, upuan at mga mesa. Ang pag-aaral ay simulan na. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ng mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. na. Halina at magkakaisa, maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay, isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama, abutin ng mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap, edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa, maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay, isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay. Halina.
Edukasyon sa pagpapakatao ang kailangan ng mundo upang matutong pakikipagkapwa-tao, mabuti ang loob at maginoo. Mag-aral na tayo ng ESP, mag-aral na tayo ng ESP.
Hi mga bata! Welcome na sa Malipayong Pagkaton! Kagahapon, inyong nakatunan ang shape nga circle. Ug karong adlaw, magkatunaw sa bitag lain mga shape. Sige. Pero sa dili pa kita magsugod, nakahinumdum ba ka mo kinsa to ang atong amigo? Atong yaging adlaw? Kinsa gali to? Sakto ka! Si Jonathan! Uy, kabalo ba mo nga birthday karon ni Jonathan? Atong himay-himayon ang pagsaulog sa birthday ni Jonathan. Sige, sundan na nato!
Mga bata, nakahinumdum pa ba mo kaniya? Uy, sakto ka, siya si Jonathan. Kabalo ba mo nga birthday ni Jonathan karon? Ug ana ay importante nga tawo sa iyang kinabuhi nga na ay ihatag sa iya ha. Kini siya, mao si Nanay Rosa. Aduna siya ihatag ni Jonathan kay birthday man niya. Usa ka gift. Uy, Kanahan ba mo makabaluon sa gift nga dadawat ni Jonathan gikan ni Nanay Rosa? Sige, atong susihon ug unsay sulod ni anang gift. Uy, mao ka na ang mga butang. Sulod sa gift ni Nanay Rosa para ni Jonathan. Oh, kabalo ba mo unsay porma sa kasagaraang gift ni Jonathan? Oh, nantawa ang iyang porma or shape. Sakto ka. Square or kahon. So karong adlaw mga bata, pagatunan ang mga butang nga ang porma square. Ikaw, Dobby? Square. Very good, mga bata. Sige. Ato sa ning tag sa unang gift ni Jonathan. Unsa gali na? Sakto, gift or regalo. Unsa gali porma sa gift ni Jonathan? Correct. Square. Square ang regalo. Ikaw, Dobby? Square ang regalo. Sakto ka. Ang square, mga bata, adunay upat ka mga kilid. Og pariha ka tas-on ang iyang mga kilid. Kana mga bata, unsa na kinsa may nagadula og ginana? Mao ka na ang chessboard. Unsa may porma sa chessboard? Sakto, square. So, square ang chessboard. Ikaw, Dobby? Square ang chessboard. Very good. Kana mga bata, gamito nato na kung singtunta ato nang ipahid sa atong singot. Kung naihugaw sa atong nawong ato usab nang ipahid. Unsa man kana? Correct. Panyo. Unsa may porma sa panyo? Sakto. Square. Square ang panyo. Ikaw, Dobby? Square ang panyo. Very good. Kana mga bata, nagadula ka bang ingonana? Uy, maayo. Unsa man kana? Usa ka? Rubrics. Dapat magkapariha ang iyahang mga color sa usa ka side. Kung sa lain pud nga side, lahi pud nga color. Unsa may porma sa rubrics? Sakto, square. Square ang Rubik's Cube. Kana mga bata, lami kaayo na. Mao ka na'y handa ni Jonathan. Mga sandwich or sandwiches. Unsa may porma sa sandwich? Correct, square. Square ang sandwich. Very good, mga bata. Mga bata, mao kini ang inyong buhaton. Kolora ng pula ang oblong sa ubos ni anang hulagway kung square ang ihang porma. O lantawon ninyo ang hulagway kung kini square, kolora ninyo og pula nga prayola ang oblong nga nasa ubos sa hulagway. Atong sugdan. Aduna kami makita nga duha ka hulagway. Ang unang hulagway mao ang Rubik's Cube. Ang ikaduha mao ang kalo. Asa man ni ana nga hulagway ang porma niya square. Sige daw bi, kolori daw bi ang oblong nga naa sa ubos ayan ng hulagway niya. Sakto ka, ang rubrics maoy adunay porma nga Square. Very good. Kana mga bata, unsa inyong nakita? Sakto, orasan o bintana. Asa man ni ana ang adunay porma nga square. Sige daw bi, kolori daw bi. Sakto ka, ang bintana. Very good. Kana mga bata. Aduna kamoy makita nga globe ug sandwich. Asa man ni ana nga hulagway ang adunay porma nga square. Ang globe or ang sandwich? Sige daw bi, kolori daw bi. Very good. Ang sandwich adunay porma nga square. Very good. Kana mga bata, unsa man kana? Sakto. Regalo o watermelon. Asa man ni ana ang adunay porma nga square? Very good. Ang regalo. Kana mga bata. Aduna kamoy makita nga ligid og unlan. Asa man ni ana ang adunay porma nga square? Ang ligid or ang unlan? Sakto, ang unlan. Very good. Salamat mga bata.
Wow! Maayo na gid kaayo mo identify og shape nga square. O karong adlaw inyo nakatunan ang shape nga. Unsa gani nga shape? Very good. Square. Daghang salamat mga bata. O magkita-kita na usab kita sa sunod sa malipayong pagkaton. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Dali namang signs na kita Mag-observe o mag-discover ta, living things o non-living things, mga stars o mga planeta. Dali na mag-science na kita, mag-observe o mag-discover ta, living things o non-living things, mga stars o mga planeta, mga stars o mga planeta, mga stars o mga planeta.
Hi mga bata! Welcome na usab sa Malipayong Pagkaton! Kagahapon, inyong nakatunan ang shape nga circle. Ug karong adlaw, magkatunaw sa kitag lain pa nga shape. Sige. Pero sa dili pa kita magsugod, nakahinumdum ba ka mo? Kinsa to ang atong amigo? Atong yaging adlaw? Kinsa gali to? Sakto ka! Si Jonathan! Uy, kabalo ba mo nga birthday karon ni Jonathan? Atong himay-himayon ang pagsaulog sa birthday ni Jonathan. Sige, sugdan na nato! Mga bata, nakahinumdum pa ba mo kaniyan? Uy, sakto ka, siya si Jonathan. Kabalo ba mo nga birthday ni Jonathan karon? Ug ana ay importante nga tawo siyang kinabuhi nga na ay ihatag sa iya ha. Kini siya, mao si Nanay Rosa. Aduna siya ihatag ni Jonathan kay birthday man niya. Usa ka gift. Uy, kanahan ba mo magkabaluon sa gift na dadawat ni Jonathan gikan ni Nanay Rosa? Sige, atong susihon ug unsay sulod ni anang gift. Uy, mao ka na ang mga butang. Sulod sa gift ni Nanay Rosa para ni Jonathan. Kabalo ba mo unsay porma sa kasagaraang gift ni Jonathan? Nantawa ang iyang porma or shape? Sakto ka. Square or kahon. So karong adlaw mga bata, pagatunan ang mga butang nga ang porma square. Ikaw daw, B? Square. Very good, mga bata. Sige. Ato sa ning tagsa-taag saon ang gift ni Jonathan. Unsa gali na? Sakto, gift or regalo. Unsa gali porma sa gift ni Jonathan? Correct. Square. Square ang regalo. Ikaw, Dobby? Square ang regalo. Sakto ka. Ang square mga bata, adunay upat ka mga kilid. Og pariha ka tas-on ang iyang mga kilid. Kana mga bata, unsa na kinsa may nagadula og inana? Mao ka na ang chessboard. Unsa may porma sa chessboard? Sakto, square. So, square ang chessboard. Ikaw daw, B? Square ang chessboard. Very good. Kana mga bata, gamito nato na kung singtunta ato nang ipahid sa atong singot. O kung naihugaw sa atong nawong ato usab nang ipahid. Unsa man ka na? Correct. Panyo. Unsa may porma sa panyo? Sakto. Square. Square ang panyo. Ikaw daw, B? Square ang panyo. Very good. Kana mga bata, nagadula ka bang ingonana? Uy, maayo. Unsa man ka na? Usa ka? Rubrics. Dapat magkapariha ang iyahang mga color sa usa ka side. Kung sa lain pud nga side, lahi pud nga color. Unsa may porma sa rubrics? Sakto, square. Square ang rubrics cube. Kana mga bata, lami kaayo na. Mao ka na'y handa ni Jonathan. Mga sandwich or sandwiches. Unsa may porma sa sandwich? Correct. Square. Square ang sandwich. Very good mga bata. Mga bata, mao kini ang inyong buhaton. Kulora ng pula ang oblong sa ubos ni anang hulagway kung square ang ihang porma. O lantawon ninyo ang hulagway kung kini square, kulura ninyo og pula nga prayola ang oblong nga naa sa ubos sa hulagway. Atong sugdan. Aduna kami makita nga duha ka hulagway. Ang unang hulagway mao ang rubrics cube. Ang ikaduha mao ang kalo. Asa man ni ana nga hulagway ang porma niya square. Sige daw bi, kulori daw bi ang oblong nga naa sa ubos ayan ng hulagway niya. Sakto ka, ang rubrics maoy adunay porma nga square. Very good. Kana mga bata, unsa inyong nakita? Sakto, orasan o bintana. Asa man ni ana ang adunay porma nga square. Sige daw bi, kulori daw bi. Sakto ka, ang bintana. Very good. Kana mga bata, aduna kamoy makita nga globe ug sandwich. Asa man ni ana nga hulagway ang adunay porma nga square. Ang globe or ang sandwich? Sige daw bi, kulori daw bi. Very good. Ang sandwich adunay porma nga square. Very good. Kana mga bata, unsa man kana? Sakto. Regalo ug watermelon. Asa man ni ana ang adunay porma nga square? Very good. Ang regalo. Kana mga bata. Aduna kamoy makita nga ligid og unlan. Asa man ni ana ang adunay porma nga square? Ang ligid or ang unlan? Sakto, ang unlan. Very good. Salamat mga bata. Wow! Maayo na gid kaayo mo identify og shape nga square. O karong adlaw inyo nakatunan ang shape nga. Unsa gani nga shape? Very good. Square. Daghang salamat mga bata. Ug magkita-kita daw sa kita sa sunod sa malipayong pagkaton. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
likas na yaman. Halika na, mag-ipipina, ipipina, ipipina. Halika na, mag-aral na. Gawin ang teknolohiya sa agrikultura at pangkabuhayan upang umunlad ang ating bayan, sagana sa likas na yaman. Halika na, mag-ipipina, ipipina, ipipina. Halika na, mag-aral na. Ipipina, 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 ipipina.
Kahit maraming problema, chill ka lang, don't stop sa pag-eskwela. Kabataan, pag-asa ng ating bayan. Ikaw, ako, tayong lahat ay magtutulungan. Ihanda na ang pisara, upuan at mga mesa. Ang pag-aaral ay simulan na. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ang mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa. Maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay. Isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay.
Kahit maraming problema, chill ka lang, don't stop sa pag-eskwela. Kabataan, pag-asa ng ating bayan. Ikaw, ako, tayong lahat ay magtutulungan. Ihanda na ang pisara, upuan at mga mesa. Ang pag-aaral ay simulan na. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ng mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa. Maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay. Isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ng mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa. Maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay. Isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay. Halina.
Tanggub City, simply home. Tanggub City, simply home. This is our place, Tanggub City. There is so much you can see. A paradise from nature's best. It's a beauty among the rest. Rich in culture and history, it has a colorful festivity. One people in harmony, one people in great revelry. Tanggub City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is ahead. cultural fame, endless beauty in silver years. Magical symbols every Christmas, people dance in all festivals. Golden years of prosperity, we are proud of this great city. One people, one destiny. TANGKUB City is a place to be. TANGKUB City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is at hand. Gearing for progress and development, people remain focused to their commitment, preserving the tradition of good values into TANGKUB City, simply call our home. TANGKUB City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is at hand. Brighter future, TANGKUB City, simply home. TANGKUB City, simply home. TANGKUB City.
Why you look so sad? The tears are in your eyes. Come on and come to me now. Don't be ashamed to cry. Let me see you through. 'Cause I've seen the dark side too. When the night falls on you, you don't know what to do. Nothing you confess can make me love you less. I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you. So if you're mad, get mad. Don't hold it all inside. Come on and talk to me now. Hey, what you got to hide? I get angry too. Well, I'm a lot like you. When you're standing at the crossroads and don't know which path to choose, let me come along. 'Cause even if you're wrong, I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you. Take me into your darkest hour, and I'll never desert you. I'll stand by you. And when the night falls on you, baby, you're feeling all alone. You won't be on your own. I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. me into your darkest hour, and I'll never desert you. I stand by you. I stand by you. I stand by you.
Sa Pilipino, matuto tayo, mabigkas magsalita sa sariling wika, tula at kwento sa sariling bansa, tayo na mag-aral na tayo. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, N, ang O, P, R, S, T, Q, U, V, W, X, Y, at Z. Ha, 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 hi, 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 sa Pilipino, matuto tayo, mabigkas magsalita sa sariling wika, tula at kwento sa sariling bansa, tayo na mag-aral na tayo. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, yan ang O, P, R, S, T, Q, U, V, W, X, Y, at Z. Ha, 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 hi, 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 ha, 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 hi, 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 ha, 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 hi, hi, hi,
magagandang tanawin, masarap pasyalan, iba't ibang kulturang matututunan. Masasarap na pagkaing matitikman sa paglalakbay at pamamasyal sa mga magagandang lugar sa Pilipinas. Yan, tapos na ang proyekto kong pang-turismo. Hi! Ang ganda talagang pagmasdan ng Taal Volcano. Lalo na ang Taal Lake. Balang araw, mapupuntahan rin kita. You are on top of my bucket lists. With or without plans.
세상의 소리 질러 I love you 너 사랑한다고 나 여자가 되어달라고 눈부셔 always you're my star 내가 너 지켜줄게.
Yes? Ano yun? Leslie ng buhay ko?
Carrie, my darling! Matutuwa kasi babalita ko. Promise! May spoken word competition sa school sa susunod na linggo. Sali tayo, please!
Ay, naku! Alam mo namang mahihayin ako, Les. Kaya kong sumulat ng tula, pero yung ibahagi ko sa harap ng maraming tao, no way. No, no, no. Ayoko. Pass.
OMG! Bakit ang tagal kong nagising sa alarm? May mangrove planting pala ngayon. Naku! Walang SK chairman na late sa livelihood program ng gobyerno.
O Angela, dito pala ang punta mo. Para ba yan sa mangrove planting?
Opo, Manggusyon. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9.50. Naku, Manggusyon, pasensya talaga. Naiwan ko kasi yung isang pouch ko sa lamesa. 9.50 lang po ito. Manggusyon, bawi na lang ako sa susunod, ha?
Aba, Angge. Angela, ang bata ka. Hindi ka naman iba sa akin, ha. Huwag mo nang intindihin yun.
Ako salamat talaga, Manggusyon.
Baba ka na.
Okay, break muna tayo guys. Dahil may inihandang itlog ang barangay Barangay Council para sa ating lahat.
Ate Angela! Oh, Rafaela. Ate Angela.
Ano ba yun?
Patulong naman po.
Ano yan?
Nahihirapan po kasi ako matandaan yung internal structure ng Earth.
Madali lang yan, Rafaela. Ang shell ng itlog ay may hahalin tulad natin sa crust. At ang puting bahagi naman ng itlog ay ang mantle. Sarap, diba? Nakikita mo to. Ang yelong bahagi naman ng itlog ay ang Earth's core or ang pinakagitna na bahagi ng Earth.
The best ka talaga, Ate Angela!
Walang anuman yun, Rafaela. Natutuwa ako dahil pinapahalagahan mo ang natatanging kayamanang may bibigay ng mga magulang mo. Sali ka pa sa susunod na linggo, ha? May mga community services pa tayong gagawin. Tutulong pa tayo sa mga livelihood programs. Naku, Rafaela, magugustuhan mo to dahil gagawa rin tayo ng basket kagaya nito at saranggola o kite. Pupuntahan rin natin ang pamayanan kung saan carving naman ang nakasanayang gawin nila kagaya nito.
Ang ganda! May bumibili pa po ba ng kite, Ate Angela?
Oo naman, may mga annual tourism kite festival sa bansa. Last year nga, nakapunta ako sa Sipalay, Negros Occidental, Dumaguete City, at Suluk, Davao del Sur, kung saan itinuro namin sa mga kabataang kagaya mo ang kahalagahan ng pangangalaga sa ating kapaligiran. Alam mo naman na lahat tayo ay apektado sa climate change. Kaya, maging parte rin tayo sa solusyon nito. Hindi ka lang bata dahil ikaw ay may kakayahang baguhin ang sarili para mas maging responsable. Kagaya ko, mas naging responsable ako simula nung sumali ako sa mga lipunang sibil na kung saan mas pinapahalagahan nila ang kabutihang panlahat kaysa sa sariling interes.
Ang tatay ko, ate, ay magsasaka. Sabi niya, ang pangunahing kabuhayan doon sa amin ay ang pagsasaka ng palay. Kahit mahirap pa noon ang irigasyon. Pero ngayon ay may sapat ng irigasyon doon sa amin.
Oh,
Till next time po, tumatawag na po kasi si nanay.
see you next week, Rafaela, at sa susunod pang linggo. Dahil may medical mission pa tayo. Disseminate information of our free dental checkup.
Sige po!
Bye!
Rafaela, anak! Natutuyo na tong mga halaman. Tama na muna yung pagbabike mo upang madiligan ito.
Opo, Nay! Andyan na po!
Patuloy niyong pagandahin ang tahanan namin, ha?
Anak, tikman mo muna tong appetizer na ginawa ko kung papasaba sa panlasa mo.
Alam mo na, magsusupply na ako ng hot and cold appetizer sa resto bar na pinagtatrabahuan ng Kuya Granger mo.
Ah, Nay, ano po ba trabaho ni Kuya Granger?
Sa pagkakaalam ko, isang desk control supervisor ang Kuya Granger mo. And one of his functions and rules is to listen to the special request of guests.
Ang galing naman ni Kuya, Nay. Nay, matanong ko nga lang, Ilalagyan pa yun ng maraming asin ng atsara.
Katamtaman lang, anak.
Nay, parang may napapansin ako sa inyo. Bigay ni tatay ang silver na rilon niya, no?
Oo nga, anak. Kung kailan nasa dapit hapon na kami ng tatay niyo, saka pa nakaisip ng pasurpresa.
Wow! Kari, alas stress na. Halika na, magdasal na tayo. Opo. Ikaw na ang mauna. Opo. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
You died, Jesus, as the source of life, flowed out for souls, and the ocean of mercy opened up for the whole world. O fountain of life, immeasurable divine mercy, cover the whole world and empty yourself out upon us.
Thank you for picking up the phone. I need your help, Bess. May binili kasi ako online na ibang-iba sa actual product na hawak ko ngayon. Matingkad kasi sa picture, faded naman pala. Anong gagawin ko? Saka yung brand, mali yung spelling, and yung presyo, halos katumbas lang sa original.
Pwede kang magreklamo sa seller niyan, Bess. May karapatan tayong mamimili, no? Ayon nga sa Republic Act 7394 or sa Consumer Act of the Philippines.
Salamat, Bess, ha? Pinalakas mo loob ko. Hindi na ako manghihinaya na i-confront ang seller.
Push mo yan. Mahirap ang buhay, no? As a matter of fact, many suffer from overpopulation and poverty, which resulted to high unemployment rate. Also, prioritize yung needs kesa sa wants, Bessie. Huwag mag-order kung hindi kinakailangan. And lastly, know your priorities. Ika nga nila, ang bawat butil ay ginto.
O siya, sige. Salamat uli, ha? Pag-aaralan ko pa kasi yung mga ambag ng kabihasnan sa Egypt at yung mga dinastiya sa sinoong kabihasnan ng China.
Okay, bye!
Bye! May aaminin ako sa'yo bukas. Puntahan kita dyan. Okay? Bye! Huhulaan ko. Magbibake ka, no?
Yes, may nag-order kasi sa akin.
Ang laki na siguro na nga kinikita mo sa pagiging negosyante mo, no? If I were to graph it, ganito siguro yun. For the first week, siguro 500 pesos yung kinikita mo, no? For the second week, siguro 1,000. And the third week, mga nasa 1,500 na. Habang tumatagal, papalaki talagang kita mo.
Puro kakalukuhan.
Tikman mo na lang kaya to. Nahiya naman ako. Tingnan mo, sa garnishing pa lang. Pero, siguro, pagpapatuloy mo to, pagluluto mo, successful ka.
Talaga?
Oo. Pero maiba tayo, ah. I signed you up for the spoken poetry. Both of us, actually. English at Filipino ang tatanggapin nilang mga pyesa.
Ikaw na lang kayong mag-deliver sa phone ko.
May nagawa na akong tula. And, best in English ka. I know you can deliver it better. Ay, teka ha. Sasagutin ko na. Okay.
Sawadika! Hello, ate.
Sawadika! Penyang Raibang?
May nasin ako sa'yo. Nakita mo ba? Tama ba yung sagot ko, ate?
Yes, Kim. Tama yung sagot mo.
Salamat, Ate Les. Okay, last na lang pala. Perfect square ang 25, di ba?
Yes! Yesterday once more. Bye!
James goes to the rim once again, lays it up and in, and he's in double.
Those two guys are exceptionally talented. I mean, like you always say, like top five.
Back to James. James goes inside, the flush and the foul. 10 assists. The Lakers 127 away from the title. Final seconds here in this NBA season. The respect from those two.
Idol talaga si LeBron James, no? Magaling naman talaga kasi siya. Siya nga ang laging MVP, di ba?
Talo nga yung team ko. Pero in fairness, no, mahigpit yung naging laro.
Oo nga, napansin mo ba yung simula ng laro? Di ba umalma yung coach sa desisyon ng referee?
Oo nga, no. Pero in fairness sa referee, ha, nanindigan talaga siya sa kanyang desisyon. Ganyan talaga pag mahigpit ang laro. Oo.
Beautiful disaster. Broken, she was made whole. Brand new creation and afraid of the fall. Blown, she found her peace, like toast bamboo still in place. Burnt, she burst with true light, too bright like stars in twilight. Beaten by the surging waves, she dares to be brave. Perfectly imperfect, consistently inconsistent, she is both heaven and hell, mystery no one can tell. But like to a lake in all its glory, after an explosion telling a story, she is a constant reminder beauty exists after a commotion. A dose of laughter, worthy of the here and after, my happily ever after. She is indeed a beautiful disaster.
Sa hinahangaan kong marikit na manunulat, magandang gabi sa dilag na nakabibighani ang ganda. Lubos akong natutuwa nang mapakinggan ko ang iyong makapagbagbag damdamin na tula. Sa umpisa ako'y napaisip, teka lang, sino ba ang nasa likod nitong napakahiwagang obra? Di tuloy mapigil ng puso ko ang kagustuhang ikaw ay aking makilala. Malaman ang totoong kwento sa tulang nag-uumapaw ng damdaming di ko mawari. Wow! Siguro ang iba ay nanghina na dulot ng pait at kabiguan sa buhay. Subalit ikaw ay bukod tangit tunay ngang kahanga-hanga. Sa halip na malugmok, ikaw ay nanindigan at patuloy na lumalaban. Inihalin tulad mo ang iyong sarili sa Taal Lake, isang makapigil hiningang tanawin na nabuo mula sa nakapanghingilabot na pagsabog ng bulkan. Sino nga ba ang mag-aakala? Tama ka, totoong pagkatapos ng unos ay may bagong pag-asa at ang magandang buhay ay tiyak na darating. Hay, patuloy ka sanang maging inspirasyon sa iyong mga mambabasa at tagapakinig. Hangad ko ang ating nalalapit na pagkikita. Maraming salamat sa dala mong inspirasyon, dulot ng kakaiba mong kwentong nais kong mas maintindihan pa. Lubos na humahanga, Khalid.
세상의 소리 질러 I love you 너 사랑한다고 내 여자가 되어달라고 눈부셔 always you're my star 내가 너 지켜줄게 세상의 소리 질러 I love you 너 사랑한다고 내 여자가 되어달라고 Always you're my star 내가 너 지켜줄게
Grade 7 Mathematics. Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-isang programa nyo, ang TANGKUB. We learn all things, ang saya!
Ready na ba kayo?
Hooray! Now, let us begin. Let's play back the scene where Kimi and her Ate Leslie had a phone conversation.
Sawadee ka! Hello ate!
Sawadee ka! Penyang Raibang?
May nasin ako sa'yo. Nakita mo ba? Tama ba yung sagot ko ate?
Yes, Kim. Tama yung sagot mo.
Salamat ate Les. Okay, last na lang pala. Perfect square ang 25, di ba?
Yesterday once more. Bye!
Notice that Kimi asked her Ate Leslie if 25 is a perfect square. And her Ate Leslie replied yes. Leslie is right. 25 is a perfect square. A perfect square is a rational number that has rational square roots.
Now, learners, to know more about perfect squares and square roots, stay tuned and be prepared, for we will tackle another lesson today, and that is the principal root of a number.
Before we proceed to the principal root of a certain number, let us have a review first of the nth root of a number. What do you mean by nth root of a number? This is the nth root symbol. This is the special symbol that means nth root. It is the radical symbol with a letter n to mean nth root. An expression containing an nth root of a number, where n is the index of the root, is called radical expression. These are the important parts to remember of a radical expression. N is the index. A is the radicand. This is the radical sign. B here is the root. Index is the basis to determine how many times the number will be multiplied by itself, which will result into the number within the radical sign. Radical sign is a symbol that represents a radical expression. Radicand, it is a number inside the radical sign. Root is the result of extracting a radical expression.
A root having an index of 2 is called square root. Just like this example. This is read as square root of 25. A root having an index of 3 is called cube root. Just like this example. This is read as cube root of 8. But take note, roots of higher index are referred using ordinal numbers, like 4th root, 5th root, and more. Now, how are we going to find the nth root of a number? Let's have examples. Find the square root of 25. To find the nth root of a number, we will follow several steps. Step 1. Identify the index of the given radical expression to know how many times the unknown number or numbers will be multiplied by itself, which will result into the number within the radical sign. Since the given index in our example is 2, then the unknown number will be multiplied twice by itself to get the result of 25. Take note that the unknown number is the root of the given radical expression. Step 2. Show some possible solutions in multiplying numbers by itself, based on the given index, until you arrive into the correct radicand. We will do trial and error method, a method wherein you are going to look at possible solutions until you arrive into the exact answer. Here are the possible solutions. If we will try 4, we will have 4 squared or 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. If we will try 5, we will have 5 squared or 5 times 5. And 5 times 5 is equal to 25. As you can observe, when 4 is multiplied by itself twice, the result is less than our given radicand. That is why we proceed to multiply the next possible number, which is 5. Since the result of 5 times 5 is the exact radicand of our given, then we will end up our solutions in 5. Next step. Multiply the opposite sign of the unknown number in step 2 to check whether it can also get the same radicand or not. If we try the negative 5 squared, we will have negative 5 times negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 5 is equal to positive 25. The result in step 2 is the same in step 3, even if the signs of the unknown number are different. Now, let us finalize the answer. Since positive 5 and negative 5 get the correct radicand of the given, then the square roots of 25 are 5 and negative 5. This can be written into
Example number 2. Find the cube root of 8. Step 1. Identify the index of the given radical expression to know how many times the unknown numbers or number will be multiplied by itself, which will result into the number within the radical sign. Now, since the given index is 3, then the unknown number will be multiplied thrice by itself to get the result of 8. Step 2. Show some possible solutions in multiplying numbers by itself based on the given index until you arrived into the correct radicand. These are the possible solutions. As you can observe, when 3 is multiplied by itself thrice, we now have 3 times 3 times 3 or 3 cubed, it is equal to 27. The result is greater than our given radicand. Thus, we need to go back with the previous number before 3 to do some multiplication. Now, if we try 2, we have 2 times 2 times 2 or 2 cubed, it is equal to 8, our given radicand. Since 2 times 2 times 2 got the exact radicand of our given, then we will end up our solutions in 2. Step 3. Multiply the opposite sign of the unknown number in step 2 to check whether it can also get the same radicand or not. The opposite of 2 is negative 2. We now have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 or negative 2 cubed is equal to negative 8. Notice that the result in step 2 is not the same in step 3, since the product in step 2 is positive, while in step 3 it is negative. Step 4, let's finalize the answer. Since 2 get the correct radicand of the given, while negative 2 did not, then the cube root of 8 is only 2. It can be written as cube root of 8 is equal to 2. Take note, if the radical expression contains 4 as the index and up, just follow the steps mentioned earlier to find the nth root of a number.
Notice that in our example, the square root of 25 is a rational number, which are positive 5 and negative 5. Thus, 25 is a perfect square. When we say perfect square, it is a number which is the result of squaring a certain number. For example, the square of negative 5 is equal to positive 25. That is negative 5 squared or negative 5 times negative 5. And that is equal to positive 25. And the square of positive 5 is also positive 25. That is 5 squared equal to positive 5 times positive 5, which is equal to positive 25. Thus, 25 is a perfect square, and its square roots are positive 5 and negative 5, which are rational numbers. Note that the opposite of squaring a number is finding its square root. Is it clear? Good.
Now that you have mastered radical expressions and its important terms, let us proceed to our main lesson, which is all about the principal root of a certain number. Principal root is a root when raised to the power of n yields the radicand of its nth degree radical. It has three natures.
First, if the radicand is a positive number, then the principal root is the positive nth root. Just like this example. The square roots of 81 are positive 9 and negative 9. 81 is a positive radicand, and 9 is the positive root. Therefore, the principal root is positive 9.
Second, if n is odd and the radicand is negative, the principal root is the negative nth root. For example, the cube root of negative 64 is negative 4. The radicand negative 64 is negative, and the index 3 is odd. Therefore, the principal root is negative 4.
Third, if n is even and the radicand is negative, the principal root is undefined. When we say undefined, it is an expression which does not have meaning and so not assigned an interpretation. Just like the fourth root of negative 16. The radicand is negative and the index is even. Therefore, the principal root is undefined. Do you get it? Good.
Principal root can be determined whether it is rational or irrational number. Now, how to determine the principal root of rational numbers? Let's have examples. To understand that a principal root is a rational number, determine if the radicand is a perfect nth power of a number. Note, rational number is any number that can be expressed in fraction form. Terminating and repeating decimals are numbers that can be expressed in fraction form. Thus, these are considered as rational numbers. For example, cube root of 27. Here, 27 is a perfect cube. It can be written as 3 cube. We now have cube root of 3 cube, and cube root of 3 cube is equal to 3. Thus, the principal root of the cube root of 27, which is 3, is a rational number. Second example, square root of 9 over 25. 9 is a perfect square. It can be written as 3 squared. 25 is a perfect square. It can be written as 5 squared. We now have square root of 3 squared over 5 squared. Square root of 3 squared over 5 squared is equal to 3 over 5. Thus, the principal root of square root of 9 over 25, which is 3 over 5, is a rational number.
Now, aside from rational numbers, we also need to determine the principal roots of non-rational numbers, which referred in mathematics as irrational numbers. Let us have examples. To understand if a principal root is an irrational number, determine if the radicand is not a perfect nth power of a number. But take note that irrational number is any number that cannot be expressed in the fraction form. It is known as the non-repeating and non-terminating number. That is why it has to be estimated up to 4 decimals. Just like this example, square root of 2. Square root of 2 can be written as square root of 2 raised to the power of 1. And this is equal to 1.4142. Since the radicand is not a perfect nth power, then the principal root of square root of 2 is irrational. Another example is a cube root of 10. Cube root of 10 can be written as cube root of 10 raised to power of 1. This is equal to 2.1544. Therefore, the cube root of 10 is also irrational. Complicated?
No. Now, since you know already the nth root of a certain number and its principal root, it's time to get your activity sheet in this lesson and answer the given activities.
Let us read the directions. Activity A. Fill me. Let's find out what is missing in the box. Let's do it this way. First, observe each of the given radical expression. Then, think of a number that should be placed inside the box to make the equation true. Then, copy the problem and write your answer on your activity sheets. The first item is done for you. Activity B. Match me. Let's find out. What is the principal root of a number? Let's do this way. First, observe the given radical expressions in column A. Then choose the corresponding principal root of each item in column A from column B. Then copy and write the answer on your activity sheets. Number 1 is done for you. Activity C. Identify me. Let's find out. Is the principal root rational or irrational? Let's do it this way. First, examine the given radical expressions. Then, identify the principal root, whether it is rational or irrational. Then copy the given radical expressions and write your answer on your activity sheets.
Take your time in answering the activities.
If you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teachers printed below your activity sheets. To end, always remember that life is like square root of negative. It is undefined.
Our life is an undefined destiny. Nobody knows when the journey ends.
As they say, YOLO. You only live once. But if you do it right, then once is enough. Grade 8 learners, relax and stay tuned for Math 8 is coming next. Good luck and God bless everyone!
Inihahandog ng dibisyon ng Tangkub City ang iba't ibang kwento, aral at kaalaman habang kayo ay nasa inyong mga tahanan. TV-based instruction.
Welcome back mga grade 8 mathematics.
Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-isang programa nyo,
Ang TANGKUB. We learn all things ang saya. Ready na ba kayo?
Hooray! Now, let us begin. Now, let's play back the scene where Carrie was baking with Leslie.
Huhulaan ko. Magbibake ka, no?
Yes, may nag-order kasi sa akin.
Ang laki na siguro na nga kinikita mo sa pagiging negosyante mo, no? If I were to graph it, ganito siguro yun. For the first week, siguro 500 pesos yung kinikita mo, no? For the second week, siguro 1,000. And the third week, mga nasa 1,500 na. Habang tumatagal, papalaki talagang kita mo.
Puro kakalokohan. Tikman mo na lang kaya to.
On the situation, Leslie graphed the income of Carrie from baking. You have noticed that as the time increases, the income also increases at a constant rate. Thus, the graph forms a straight line. It rises from left to right.
The rate of change determines the steepness or slope of a line. Moreover, graph can be described in terms of slope and y-intercepts. Now learners, clear your thoughts and bear with us today for we will tackle another lesson, and that is describing the graph in terms of its slope and intercepts. Now, observe these following graphs.
In graph number 1, using the 2 points 0, 3 and 2, 1, it will give us a slope of -1 by using the formula of the slope. We have m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We now have 1 minus 3 over 2 minus 0. 1 minus 3 is -2. 2 minus 0 is 2. We now have -2 divided by 2. And this is equal to -1. It could be observed that when the line formed on the graph falls from left to right, it yields a negative slope. This negative slope is described as a decreasing graph, meaning to say, for every increase of x value, there is a corresponding decrease of the y value. Notice that the line touches point 3 on the y-axis. Therefore, positive 3 is the b or the y-intercept. This also implicates that when x equals 0, y is equal to 3. Graph number 2 showed a horizontal line where the slope is equal to 0. Using the 2 points 1, 1 and 2, 1, then solving for the slope, we have m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We now have 1 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. We now have 0 over 1. 0 over 1 or 0 divided by 1 is equal to 0. Therefore, m or the slope is equal to 0. It can be analyzed that when the line has no slope, any changes of the x value do not change the value of the y. Notice that the line touches one point above the origin on the y-axis. Therefore, positive 1 is the b or the y-intercept. With no slope at all, any values of the x would yield a constant y value, and that is equal to the y-intercept.
In graph number 3, computing its slope, we have points 4, 0, and 0, negative 2. This will give us a slope of 1/2. To find the value of slope, we use the formula m is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Substituting the given points, we now have negative 2 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. Negative 2 minus 0 is equal to negative 2. 0 minus 4 is equal to negative 4. Negative 2 over negative 4 is equal to positive 1/2. It could be observed that the line formed with a positive slope is described as an increasing graph, meaning to say, for an increase of the x value, there is a corresponding increase of the y value. Notice, however, that the line touches point negative 2, which is below the origin on the y-axis. Thus, negative 2 is the b, or the y-intercept, which means that when x is equal to 0, y is equal to negative 2. Graph number 4 will give us an undefined slope, which form a vertical line. Given the points 2, 2 and 2, 4, solving for slope, again we use the slope formula. Substituting the given points, we now have 4 minus 2 over 2 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. And 2 over 0 is equal to undefined. It could be observed that the line does cross any point of the y-axis. Therefore, there is no y-intercept at all. Note that this line is simply vertical, and it's not a linear function. Do you get it? Great!
Now, it's your turn to try. Graph a linear equation by plotting the points 0, 5, and 6, 1, and describe its graph in terms of its slope and y-intercepts. Very good! The graph would look like this. Solving for the slope of the line, we have m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We now have 1 minus 5 over 6 minus 0. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. 6 minus 0 is 6. We now have negative 4 over 6. And it is equal to negative 2/3. Now, the graph is described to be a decreasing graph since the graph is falling from left to right. This shows a negative slope, which is negative 2/3. Thus, for every increase of the x value, there corresponds a decrease in y value. Moreover, the line touches positive 5 on the y-axis. This shows that when x equals 0, y is equal to 5. Thus, positive 5 is the y-intercept, or b.
Complicated? No. Now, learners, just remember all the 4 different forms of the graph of linear equations. Now, to wrap up everything, the sign of the slope tells the inclination of the graph. First, if the graph rises from left to right, then the graph is an increasing graph. Its slope, or m, is positive. This means that as the x value increases, y value also increases. Next, if the graph falls from left to right, then the graph is a decreasing graph. Its slope is negative. This means that as the x value increases, y value decreases. And if the graph is a horizontal line, then its slope is 0. This means that y value is constant at any value of x. And if the graph is a vertical line, then its slope is undefined. Note that a vertical graph is just a line, not a function.
Now, since you have learned describing graphs in terms of its slope and y-intercepts, it's time to get your activity sheets in this lesson and answer the given activities.
Let us read the direction. Plot the data and describe the graph of each of the following. A guide is given for you.
Just take your time in answering the activities.
If you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teachers printed below your activity sheets.
To end, describing a graph of a linear equation is like describing oneself. Not everyone gets the same version.
Some would say you are amazing, and some would say you are not. But always remember that to be an amazing and beautiful is to be yourself.
You don't need to be accepted by others.
You need to accept yourself. Now, grade 9 learners, relax and stay tuned for Math 9 is coming next.
Good luck and God bless everyone!
Inihahandog ng Dibisyon ng TANGKUB City ang iba't ibang kwento, aral, at kaalaman habang kayo ay nasa inyong mga tahanan. TV-based instruction.
Welcome back mga grade 9 mathematics.
Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-isang programa nyo,
ang TANGKUB. We learn all things, ang saya! Ready na ba kayo?
Hooray! Now, let us begin. Now, let's play back the scene where Rafaela asked her mother, Mrs. Salvana, about the job of her elder brother, Granger.
Anak, tikman mo muna tong appetizer na ginawa ko kung papasaba sa panlasa mo. Alam mo na, magsusupply na ako ng hot and cold appetizer sa resto bar na pinagtatrabahuan ng Kuya Granger mo. Ah, Nay, ano po ba trabaho ni Kuya Granger? Sa pagkakaalam ko, isang desk control supervisor ang Kuya Granger mo. And one of his functions and rules is to listen to the special request of guests. Ang galing naman ni Kuya, Nay!
Yes, Granger's job is a desk control supervisor. and one of its functions or rules is to listen to the special request of the guest.
You have learned already that a job function is a routine set of tasks or activities undertaken by a person in that position. However, in mathematics, a function is a relation where every element of the domain corresponds with exactly one element of the range. The domain of the function are the possible values of x, while the range refers to the possible values of y.
Last episode 7, you also learned that a quadratic function is a function in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a should not be equal to 0. The highest exponent of the independent variable of a quadratic function is 2.
Now learners, relax and stay tuned for we will tackle another lesson related to quadratic function. These are transforming quadratic functions defined by y equals ax squared plus bx plus c into the form y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k, and vice versa.
And also, graphing a quadratic function. The general form of a quadratic function, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, can be transformed into the vertex form y equals a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k, and vice versa, where h and k is the vertex. Since we can easily determine the vertex h and k, therefore, this form y equals a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k is called the vertex form of the quadratic function.
Now, how are we going to transform y equals ax squared plus bx plus c into its vertex form y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k? Let's have example. Transform y equals x squared plus 4x plus 3 in the vertex form y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k, and give the values of a, h, and k. To transform y equals x squared plus 4x plus 3 into its vertex form, first, we group together the terms containing x. We now have y equals the quantity of x squared plus 4x plus 3. Next, we factor out a. Since our a here is equal to 1, then we now have y equals the quantity of x squared plus 4x plus 3. We now complete the expression in parentheses to make it a perfect square trinomial by adding a constant, the square of b over 2, and subtracting the same value from the constant term. Now, since b is equal to 4, we now have the square of b over 2. Substituting the value of b, we now have the square of 4 over 2. 4 over 2 is equal to 2. We now have 2 squared. 2 squared, or 2 times 2, is equal to 4. Then, the equation would now be y equals the quantity of x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus 3 minus 4. Next, we simplify and express the perfect square trinomial as the square of binomial. Hence, y equals x squared plus 4x plus 3 can be expressed as y equals the square of x plus 2 minus 1 in vertex form. Now, based on the equation, the values of a, h, and k would now be a is equal to 1, h is equal to -2, and k is equal to -1. The vertex hk would now be -2, -1. Take note that h here, in this case, is not positive 2 because the vertex form is always y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k. Making the sign inside the parenthesis positive,
h must be negative. Thus, y is equal to a times x minus negative h squared plus k makes an equation y equals a times the square of x plus h plus k. Do you get it? Good.
Now, how about vice versa? Transforming a quadratic function from vertex form into the general form. Now, let us use our example earlier. Let us see if its general form is this one. Check this solution. Transform y equals the quantity of x plus 2 squared minus 1 into the general form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Solution. Copy first the given quadratic function. Now, expand the quantity of x plus 2 squared. The quantity of x plus 2 squared is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 4. We now have y equals x squared plus 4x plus 4 minus 1. Then simplify. Combine similar terms. 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. We now have y equals x squared plus 4x plus 3. Therefore, y equals the quantity of x plus 2 squared minus 1 in vertex form is equal to y equals x squared plus 4x plus 3 in general form.
Again, the general form of a quadratic function y equals ax squared plus bx plus c can be transformed into its vertex form y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k, and vice versa.
Now, how about the graph of the quadratic function? Well, last episode you have already learned how to graph quadratic function using table of values. Again, what do you call to the graph of a quadratic function? Yes, it is a parabola.
Now, aside from graphing quadratic equations, we also learn the characteristics of each graph, the direction of the opening of the graph or the parabola, domain, range, intercepts, axis of symmetry, vertex, and the minimum and maximum value. When we talk about direction of the opening of the graph or the parabola, if the value of a is greater than 0, the parabola opens upward. And if a is less than 0, the parabola opens downward. Domain. The arrowheads of the graph or parabola imply that the graph extends indefinitely to the left and right. This is because the domain of the quadratic function is the set of all real numbers. In fact, unless it is restricted, the domain of a quadratic function is always the set of real numbers. Range. The range depends on whether the parabola opens upward or downward. If it opens upward, the range is the set of all y such that y is greater than or equal to k. If it opens downward, then the range is the set of all y such that y is less than or equal to k. Intercepts. The x-intercept of a graph is the value of x at which the graph intersects the x-axis. That is, if the graph passes through the point a0, then the graph has an x-intercept of a. In other words, the value or values of x when y is equal to 0. The y-intercept of a graph is the value of y at which the graph intersects the y-axis. Thus, if the graph passes through the point 0b, then the graph has a y-intercept of b. In other words, the value of y when x is equal to 0. Axis of symmetry. It is an imaginary line passing through the vertex, which divides the parabola into two identical parts. The line x is equal to h is the axis of symmetry. Vertex. A turning point of the parabola, which is either the lowest point or the highest point of the graph. The vertex is the point of the form hk, minimum or maximum value. If the parabola opens upward, it has a minimum point. And if the parabola opens downward, it has a maximum point. It is the y-coordinate of the vertex of the parabola.
Now, let's have an example. Graph the quadratic function y equals the quantity of x plus 2 squared minus 1, then determine the direction of the opening of the graph or parabola, the domain, range, intercepts, axis of symmetry, vertex, and the minimum or the maximum value. Solution. Step 1. Determine the vertex. Since in the given quadratic function, h is equal to -2 and k is equal to -1, then the vertex is -2, -1. Step 2. Construct a table of values and we are going to place the vertex in the center. We now have this one. Step 3. Assign the values of x before and after -2. We now have the values of x, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. Step 4. Solve for y using the values of x. Then fill in the table with the computed values of y in terms of x. If x is equal to -4, what is the value of y? Now, write first the given quadratic function. Then, substitute the value of x, which is -4, in the quadratic function. We now have y equals the quantity of -4 plus 2 squared minus 1. Following the PEMDAS, solve first the problem inside the parentheses. -4 plus 2 is -2. We now have y equals -2 squared minus 1. Simplify the exponent. -2 squared is positive 4. We now have y equals 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. Therefore, if x is equal to -4, then y is equal to 3. Next, how about if x is equal to -3? What would be the value of y? Substituting -3 to the x in the given quadratic function, we now have y equals the quantity of -3 plus 2 squared minus 1. -3 plus 2 is equal to -1. We now have y equals -1 squared minus 1. -1 squared is equal to positive 1. We now have y equals 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Therefore, if x is equal to -3, then y is equal to 0. How about if x is equal to -1? What would be the value of y? Now, substitute -1 to the x in the given quadratic function. We now have y equals the quantity of -1 plus 2 squared minus 1. -1 plus 2 is positive 1. We now have y equals 1 squared minus 1. 1 squared is equal to 1. We now have y equals 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Therefore, if x is equal to -1, then y is equal to 0. How about if x is equal to 0? What is the value of y? Now, substituting 0 to the x in the given quadratic function, we now have y equals the quantity of 0 plus 2 squared minus 1. 0 plus 2 is equal to 2. We now have y equals 2 squared minus 1. 2 squared is equal to 4. We now have y equals 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. Therefore, if x is equal to 0, then y is equal to 3. Now, this is the table of values of the given quadratic function. Step 5. Plot the points in the Cartesian coordinate plane, then connect. Starting from the ordered pair negative 4 and 3, now, this is the point negative 4, 3. This is the point negative 3, 0. This is the point negative 2, negative 1. This is the point negative 1, 0. And this is the point 0, 3. Connect all the points. We now have this graph. This shows the graph of the given quadratic function y equals the quantity of x plus 2 squared minus 1.
Easy, right? Now, let's go back to the graph of the quadratic function y equals the square of x plus 2 minus 1. Let us determine its characteristics. The domain of this graph is the set of real numbers. Its range, since k is equal to negative 1 and the parabola opens upward, then the range is set of all y such that y is greater than or equal to negative 1. This simply means that the y values from negative 1 to positive infinity are the range of the given quadratic function. Let us determine their intercepts. The x-intercept of this graph is, since the graph intersects the x-axis at negative 3, 0 and negative 1, 0, thus its x-intercepts are negative 1 and negative 3. In other words, these are the values of x when y is equal to 0. The y-intercept of this graph is, since the graph intersects the y-axis at 0, 3, thus its y-intercept is equal to positive 3. In other words, these are the value of y when x is equal to 0. Now, since a is equal to 1, h is equal to negative 2, and k is equal to negative 1, and the parabola opens upward, then the vertex, that is of the form hk, would be negative 2, negative 1. Since the axis of symmetry is x is equal to h, then the axis of symmetry, or x, is equal to negative 2. Now, since the graph opens upward, then it has a minimum value. The minimum value is negative 1. It is the y value of the vertex of the parabola, or simply the value of k. Easy, right?
Now, since you know already how to transform the general form of a quadratic function into the vertex form and vice versa, and also the graph of a quadratic function and its characteristics, it's time to get your activity sheet in this lesson and answer the given activities.
Let us read the directions. Transform the given quadratic function into vertex form y equals a times the square of x minus h plus k, and graph it using table of values. Then, determine the direction of the opening of the parabola, domain, range, x and y intercepts, its vertex, axis of symmetry, and minimum or maximum value.
Take your time in answering the activities.
Now, if you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teachers printed below your activity sheets. To end, always remember that life is like math. We, too, undergo transformation of ourselves.
As quoted by Jaggi Vasudev, Self-transformation is not just about changing yourself. It means shifting yourself to a completely new dimension of experience and perception.
Grade 10 learners, relax and stay tuned for Math 10 is coming next.
Good luck and God bless everyone!
Inihahandog ng dibisyon ng Tangkub City ang iba't ibang kwento, aral, at kaalaman habang kayo ay nasa inyong mga tahanan. TV-based instruction.
Today is another brand new day to learn another lesson in mathematics.
Dito sa nag-isang programa nyo,
Ang TANGKUB! We learn all things ang saya! Ready na ba kayo?
Hooray! Now let us begin. Now let's play back the scene where Kimi asked her sister Leslie in her math problem.
Sawadee ka! Hello ate!
Sawadee ka! Penyang Raibang?
May nasin ako sa'yo. Nakita mo ba? Tama ba yung sagot ko ate?
Yes, Kim. Tama yung sagot mo.
Salamat ate Les. Okay, last na lang pala. Perfect square ang 25, di ba?
Yesterday once more. Bye!
Definitely. Kimi showed factoring polynomials. She factored 4x to the power of 4 minus 8x cubed. And it is equal to 4x cubed times the quantity of x minus 2.
Last episode, you have learned different techniques in factoring polynomials. Those were factoring greatest common factor, inspection method, and AC method. And this factoring of Kimi is an example of greatest common factor.
Now, learners, we will learn another technique in factoring polynomials. This is factoring special products.
There are some special products that can be used in getting the factors of polynomials by identifying them. Special products are called special because they do not need long solutions in finding the factors. And these special products can be recognized through their patterns.
The different types of special products are perfect square trinomial, difference of two squares, and sum and difference of two cubes. Here are the different patterns for special products. First, we have perfect square trinomial. The patterns are a squared plus 2ab plus b squared and a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Second, the difference of two squares. This is the pattern. A squared minus b squared. Third, we have the sum and difference of two cubes. This is the pattern for the sum of two cubes. A cube plus b cube. And this is the pattern for the difference of two cubes. We have a cube minus b cube.
Now, let us learn first perfect square trinomial. What is a perfect square trinomial? A perfect square trinomial is a square or a product of two same binomials. It is called special product because it can always be identified by its pattern. The first and the third terms are squares, and the middle term is twice the product of their square roots. Now, we will illustrate this concept through this example. A perfect square trinomial is a product of two same binomials, just like the square of x plus 4. This is equal to the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x plus 4. Using the FOIL method, we could get a product of x squared plus 8x plus 16. X squared plus 8x plus 16 is an example of a perfect square trinomial. The first term is a square. We have x squared. The square root of x squared is equal to x. The last term 16 is also a square. The square root of 16 is equal to 4. The middle term 8x is twice the product of the square roots of the first and last terms. We have 2 times 4 times x. Thus, this shows the pattern of a perfect square trinomial. In general, a polynomial that are perfect square trinomials can be factored as follows. First, if we have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, this is simply equal to the square of a plus b, or commonly known as square of binomial. And if we have a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, this is just simply equal to the square of a minus b. Take note that the operation of the factors of a perfect square trinomial may be plus or minus. It is depending on whether the middle term of the trinomial is positive or negative.
Now, let us have an example of factoring perfect square trinomial. Factor the trinomial x squared minus 8x plus 16. Step 1. Arrange the polynomial in descending order. Since the given trinomial is already arranged in descending order, we just copy the given trinomial x squared minus 8x plus 16. Step 2. Look for the greatest factor common to every term. Since there is no GCF common to every term, therefore, the factoring process begins by opening two sets of parentheses. Step 3. Examine the trinomial if it is a perfect square trinomial. To examine, let's check if the first and last terms are perfect squares, and the middle term is twice the product of its square roots. In the given trinomial, the first term x squared is a perfect square, and its square root is equal to x. The last term 16 is also a perfect square, and its square root is equal to 4. The middle term 8x is twice the product of the square roots of the first and last terms. We have 2 times x times 4. This is equal to the middle term 8x. Now, since it shows a perfect square trinomial, then factoring using its pattern, we have a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. The factors are of the form the quantity of a minus b times the quantity of a minus b, or the quantity of a minus b squared. A here is equal to x, the square root of the first term. b here is equal to 4, the square root of the last term. Therefore, the factors of x squared minus 8x plus 16 are the quantity of x minus 4 times the quantity of x minus 4, or the quantity of x minus 4 squared. Do you get it? Good. Now, why don't you try factor this next example? Very good. The factors are 2x times the square of 2x plus 3. Let's check the process. Step 1. We arrange the polynomial in descending order. We have 8x cubed plus 24x squared plus 18x. The given polynomial is already in descending order. Next, look for the greatest factor common to every term. Since 8x cubed plus 24x squared plus 18 is divisible by 2x, therefore, the greatest common factor is 2x. Factoring out 2x, we now have 2x times the quantity of 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. Next step. Let us examine the remaining factor trinomial if it is a perfect square trinomial. To examine, let's check if the first and last terms are perfect squares and if the middle term is twice the product of its square roots. The remaining trinomial is 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. Let's check if the 4x squared is a square by getting its square root. The square root of 4x squared is equal to 2x. What about the last term, 9? Right, 9 is a perfect square. Thus, the square root of 9 is equal to 3. Checking the middle term if it's twice the product of its square roots, we now have 2 times 2x times 3. We have positive 12x. Thus, this shows the middle term of the remaining factor trinomial. Since 4x squared plus 12x plus 9 shows a perfect square trinomial, then factoring this using its pattern, we have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is equal to the quantity of a plus b times the quantity of a plus b, or simply the square of a plus b. The value of a here shows 2x, and the value of b is equal to 3. Now using the pattern, we now have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9, and this is simply equal to the quantity of 2x plus 3 times the quantity of 2x plus 3, or simply the square of 2x plus 3. Therefore, the factors of 8x cubed plus 24x squared plus 18x are 2x times the quantity of 2x plus 3 times the quantity of 2x plus 3. Or, it could also be written as 2x times the square of 2x plus 3. Now, let us proceed to the next special product. This is the difference of two squares. The product of the sum and difference of the same two terms, or what we call binomials, is called the difference of two squares. Check this one. If we have two binomials, x plus 9 and x minus 9, then their product is equal to x squared minus 81. The first term of the two binomials is x. If we are going to square the first term, it would be x squared. The second term of the two binomials is 9. If we are going to square the second term, then it would be 81. Take note, since this is difference of two squares, the operation is always subtraction. Now, this shows the pattern of difference of two squares. In general, polynomials that are difference of two squares in the form a squared minus b squared can be factored as the quantity of a plus b times the quantity of a minus b, or the quantity of a minus b times the quantity of a plus b. Take note, the result of the difference of two squares is the product of the sum and difference of two terms.
Now, let us have example. Factor 12h squared minus 75. First step, arrange the polynomial in descending order. Now, 12h squared minus 75 is already in descending order. Next, we will look for the greatest factor common to every term. Since 3 is common to all terms of 12h squared minus 75, we will now factor out 3. We now have 3 times the quantity of 4h squared minus 25. Next, we will examine the remaining factor, 4h squared minus 25. Notice that 4h squared is a perfect square, and 25 is also a perfect square. Thus, 4h squared minus 25 is a difference of two squares. Factoring using the pattern of difference of two squares, we now have a squared minus b squared is simply equal to the quantity of a plus b times the quantity of a minus b. Using the pattern, we get the square roots first of each term of 4h squared minus 25. The square root of 4h squared is equal to 2h. The square root of 25 is equal to 5. Following the pattern, a here is equal to 2h. B is equal to 5. We now have 4h squared minus 25 is equal to the quantity of 2h plus 5 times the quantity of 2h minus 5. Therefore, the factors of 12h squared minus 75 are 3 times the quantity of 2h plus 5 times the quantity of 2h minus 5.
Easy, right? Of all the special products, the difference of two squares is the easiest to remember because of its simplest and shortest way in finding the factors.
Now, let us have the last special product, and that is sum and difference of two cubes. The sum and difference of two cubes has two factors. One is binomial, and the other one is trinomial. For the sum of two cubes, the binomial factor is the sum of the cube roots of the given terms. And the trinomial factor is the square of the first term of the binomial factor, then the negative of the product of first and second terms of the binomial factor, and the last term is the square of the second term of the binomial factor. In symbols, we can write it as a cubed plus b cubed is just simply equal to a plus b times the quantity of a squared minus ab plus b squared. And for the difference of two cubes, the binomial factor is the difference of the cube roots of the given terms. And the trinomial factor is the square of the first term of the binomial factor, then the positive of the product of the first and the second terms of the binomial factor, and the last term is the square of the second term of the binomial factor. In symbols, we can write it as a cubed minus b cubed is equal to a minus b times the quantity of a squared plus ab plus b squared.
Now, let us have examples of factoring sum and difference of two cubes. Example number 1. Factor a cubed plus 8. Solution. First, look for the greatest common factor to every term. Now, since there is no GCF, then we will proceed in factoring using the pattern. Now, since the given is a cube plus 8 and it is a sum of 2 cubes, using the pattern we have a cube plus b cube can be factored as a plus b times the quantity of a squared minus ab plus b squared. Now, we get the cube roots of each term of a cube plus 8. The cube root of a cube is equal to a, and the cube root of 8 is 2. A in the pattern is equal to a, and b in the pattern is equal to 2. Substituting a and b in the pattern, we now have a cube plus 8 is equal to the quantity of a plus 2 times the quantity of a squared minus a times 2 plus 2 squared. Simplify. Negative a times 2 is equal to negative 2a, and 2 squared is equal to 4. Therefore, the factors of the given a cubed plus 8 is equal to the quantity of a plus 2 times the quantity of a squared minus 2a plus 4. Do you get it? Good!
Now learners, try to factor this next example. Correct! The factors are 2x times the quantity of x minus 2 times the quantity of x squared plus 2x plus 4. Let's check the process. To factor 2x to the power of 4 minus 16x, first, we look for the greatest common factor to every term. Since 2x is common to all terms, then we factor out 2x. We now have 2x times the quantity of x cubed minus 8. Now, let us examine the remaining factor, x cubed minus 8. X cubed is a perfect cube, and 8 is also a perfect cube. Thus, x cubed minus 8 is a difference of 2 cubes. Factoring difference of 2 cubes, we use this pattern. A cubed minus b cubed is simply a minus b times the quantity of a squared plus ab plus b squared. To follow the pattern, we get the cube roots first of each term. The cube root of x cubed is equal to x. The cube root of 8 is equal to 2. Thus, a here is equal to x and b is equal to 2. Following the pattern, we now have x cubed minus 8 is equal to x minus 2 times the quantity of x squared plus x times 2 plus 2 squared. Simplifying, we now have x times 2 is equal to 2x. 2 squared is equal to 4. We now have x minus 2 times the quantity of x squared plus 2x plus 4. Therefore, the factors of 2x to the power of 4 minus 16x are 2x times the quantity of x minus 2 times the quantity of x squared plus 2x plus 4. Complicated?
No! Note that in factoring special products, it is very important to familiarize its forms and patterns of its factors. Again, remember these patterns.
Now, since you already learned factoring special products, it's time to get your activity sheets and answer the following activities. your time in answering the activities. Now, if you have questions or clarifications, you may contact the number of your teachers printed below your activity sheets. To end, always remember that just like polynomials, they are called special products because of its uniqueness.
Each of us is also unique.
sad. The tears are in your eyes. Come on and come to me now. Don't be ashamed to cry. Let me see you through. 'Cause I've seen the dark side too. When the night falls on you, you don't know what to do. Nothing you confess can make me love you less. I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. you're mad, get mad. Don't hold it all inside. Come on and talk to me now. Hey, what you got to hide? I get angry too. Well, I'm a lot like you. When you're standing at the crossroads and don't know which path to choose, let me come along. 'Cause even if you're wrong, I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you. Take me into your darkest hour, and I'll never desert you. I'll stand by you. And when the night falls on you, baby, you're feeling all alone. You won't be on your own. I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you. Take me into your darkest hour, and I'll never desert you. I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you.
Tanggub City, simply home. Tanggub City, simply home. This is our place, Tanggub City. There is so much you can see. A paradise from nature's best. It's a beauty among the rest. Rich in culture and history, it has a colorful festivity. One people in harmony, one people in great revelry. Tanggub City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is at hand. Tanggub City, simply home. 25 years of cultural fame, endless beauty in silver years. Magical symbols every Christmas, people dance in all festivals. Golden years of prosperity, we are proud of this great city. One people, one destiny. Tanggub City is a place to be. Tanggub City is proudly celebrating milestones and beyond. A never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is at hand. Gearing for progress and development. People remain focused to their commitment. Preserving the tradition of good values into Tanggub City. a never-ending celebration, a joy for everyone. Come and join us, let's all have fun. It's a legacy that we have done. A brighter future of our city is at hand. Brighter future, Tanggub City. Simply home, Tanggub City. Simply home, Tanggub City.
Kahit maraming problema, chill ka lang, don't stop sa pag-eskwela. Kabataan, pag-asa ng ating bayan. Ikaw, ako, tayong lahat ay magtutulungan. Ihanda na ang pisara, upuan at mga mesa. Ang pag-aaral ay simulan na. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ang mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa. Maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay. Isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay.
Kahit maraming problema, chill ka lang, don't stop sa pag-eskwela. Kabataan, pag-asa ng ating bayan. Ikaw, ako, tayong lahat ay magtutulungan. Ihanda na ang pisara, upuan at mga mesa. Ang pag-aaral ay simulan na. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ng mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa. Maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay. Isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina, sa school magsama-sama. Abutin ng mga pangarap, mayaman man o mahirap. Edukasyon ay para sa lahat. Halina, balik eskwela na. Halina at magkakaisa. Maghawak ng kamay, sumigaw ng sabay-sabay. Isang tinig tungo sa tagumpay. Halina.
We hope that you have learned the most essential lessons you need to master. See you on our next episodes. This has been Ang Tangkub.
It's Tangkub, Tangkub, Tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fun, masaya. Tutok na.
Kung gusto mong maglingaw-lingaw, mga tawag magloling hayaw, mag-joyride na. Uba na ang imong barkada, silingan o pamilya, mag-joyride na. Sinatingon tang palibot, mga lugar sulod sa tanggob, mag-ubanta. Silang gato makilaw, sa sanabog sa pulaw, laagunta. Labi na yun sa huyuhoy, ugnaw na pitagano kahoy, talan na. Maglibot tango, maglibot tango kita. Maglipay-lipay, magsakay sa sakay tala. Maghihiusa, maghihigala. Let's get together, make life feel better. Kung gusto ka og entertainment, for fun and for enjoyment, no problem ka. Sinanduloy among pambato, kumusayo smart kaayo, believe jud ka. Panahon sad sa Disyembre, super gid ka aligre, malingaw gid ka. Fireworks display, daghang ganahan, musidlak sa kalangitan, mapawagid ka. Christmas symbols, capital of the Philippines. Ninira na ninyo makita, friends, diba? Diri sa tanggop, maglibot tanggop ta. Maglipay-lipay, magsakay-sakay tala. Maghihiusa, maghihigala. Let's get together, make life feel better. Makita, friends, diba? Hapit sa tanggop, maglibot tanggop ta. Maglipay-lipay, magsakay-sakay tala. Maglibot tanggop, maglibot tanggop ta. Maglibot tanggop, maglibot tanggop ta. Maglibot tanggop, maglibot tanggop ta. Maghihiusa, maghihigala. Let's get together, make life feel better.
TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care.